Hello and welcome to the 5th episode of Upgrade Time. So, like last week, I did not have much time working on graphics. So what I did is I decided to work a bit on the actual text UI part of the game. Improving graphics is nice, but if we want to have a smoothed out gameplay experience, it's nice to have a game which looks more modern to play. So I'm going to do like last time, which is instead of showing what I'm doing step by step, I'm going to show first what the changes are and how it worked. So just to give you a reminder of what the game looked like, I'm starting from episode 2, which is a bit of cheating because there is already the picture, but this part was the only modified part. So we had the UI like that with the caps. Then we had the purely textual interface with a command like E to see the inventory, L to see where we are. So you are in a deserted market square. Go east, go north. I can see a set of get keys. Okay, and if I type I got a set of keys. South, east, get bag, E, and after a while, so you're limited to seven objects in the inventory, but after a while it becomes very cumbersome to play because the game asks you to basically do some combination between the objects, but also to interact with your environment. And the permanent switch between inventory and showing what happens is very taxing mentally. And if you see here, it's written moves 11. Just looking at your inventory and on back to the scene increases the move number, which is not awesome. Which is where part 5 arrive. So yeah, while I'm at it, somebody pointed out that why I was using the F6 mode in the script. And I'm going to switch the direction because it's more logical, yes. So the old version had -F6 instead of -F0. The reason is that when I started the project, I used a lot of color graphic placeholder. And by using F6, it was using the SAM converter, which was able to do something kind of usable. -F0 will just have it done black and white, and it was very messy to see. Now, the reason of I'm switching back to F0 is that pretty much all the pictures, most of them, have been converted to monochrome, and the few remaining ones still look recognizable in monochrome mode. And why it matters is if we try to rebuild part 4, it does that. That's -F6 in progress. If I go to part 5, that's the title picture, which is in color, and proof that the rest. You can see that it is slightly more efficient. So, I'm going to stop it. So, this is our original game, and this is what it looks as of now. I'm not sure if I can put it side by side. So, I still need to get rid of this cursor, but basically I added this animated text. So if you want to see the instruction, you can still do it by pressing I, in which case you go and you get the same intro pictures as on the original game. But now if you press any key, you reach directly the game, which is nice. So the main difference with the previous version is that the previous version basically had this picture here, but it was pretty much always showing this text scrolling thing. So now it's reformatted. So you can see now the description, actually I can go west. So that's the same location. You're in a deserted market square. I can see nothing of interest here, exits lead north and house. So I reformatted that by having two fixed locations under the picture, with the description of the location and the direction you can go toward. Because these ones pretty much don't change with your actions. Except in the specific case of the dog, which blocks you on the pit where you fall. But this is non-interactive, while what you can see here is interactive. So what are you going to do now? East. Another thing you can see is that here, if I do enter, I'm basically messing the system. I can also enter special character, thing which makes no sense. In this version, I can enter letters, but I can enter numbers or special characters. So that kind of makes it a bit nicer. I also moved the move indicator here. So what about all this lost black area? Well, if I go north, I can see a set of keys. Get keys. And now we have the set of key here, while here you have to do inventory and you don't know where you are anymore. So I go back south. I get the bag. North, narrow path, north, south, east and west. Long road stretch ahead of you. You go north, you're on a narrow path. I also took the time to fix some of the annoying things like this dot here, which is the end of this sentence, which does not fit. It does not bring any benefit except breaking the formatting. North, north. So I guess you get the idea. So get box. I don't know how to get something. And it automatically refresh what has been taken. So I took the cardboard box. So now all remain is a twine. Get twine. Okay, I can see nothing of interest. And the system add them. Tuk. Then I'm going back south, west, and if I kill the dog, so I have the silver knife here, because I throw the knife, it's not in my inventory anymore. There is a small thing I need to fix. This does not automatically refresh. Well, actually it did refresh, but it scrolled out of the of the screen without missing. And if I want, I can get back my knife, and I can get the dog. So what you may wonder is, there is room only for 6 elements. What happens if we take more? Well, actually there is 7, because this slot is 3, this slot is occupied, and I did it like that because For gameplay reason, the game restricts you to 7 items. If you tried to take a 8th one, it will just tell you you need to drop something first. So, yeah, that's what we have. So now in terms of code, well, I guess I can do a diff again. There's been quite a number of changes. 4, 5, let's sweep it. So in terms of graphics, I only did one, and it's not unfinished. This is a master bedroom on which one of the criminals is going to be sleeping and then dying. I'm planning to add some blinds to get some dark dramatic effect, on some walk-in closet, on some bedstand, something to make it look like it is the master bedroom and not just a white box with a bed. So now in terms of source code, as you can see, there's a lot of change. But if I hide the unimportant ones, many are not actually important. So what I did is I removed all the part with commands, rem, so they are all gone. I change press any key when you are ready by press I for instruction, press any other key to play. For the formatting, it's mostly important later. I removed this space on the $z function, the one which is used to do all the color change, because it was breaking the display of many of the things I was trying to display, which was kind of annoying because there was one totally pointless additional character. What it means is that everything which uses the dollar variable, like here, now is shifted a little bit one character to the left. So I display that, ask for the key. This is not really necessary. What I do is basically to use a field function to overwrite what was on the title picture with color 0. The reason I'm doing that is that it was generating a lot of blinking when switching. So I added the fill documentation, and on that one is truncated, so I will have to redo it, which explain how it works. So the first parameter is the number of lines, the second is the number of bytes in the line, and the third is the byte you are using. And it starts from the current high-res cursor location that you can set with curset, which is what I'm doing here. I put the cursor at the top and then I fill. Then I switch to text, and if the key was not high, we jump to 63 as we display all that. If I go to my mixed graphic mode, I did a few adaptation because now I'm blocking more lines for my UI. Before we had 11 available scrolling area, now we have only 4 lines, the one which are in blue here. And these are just color change on line 16 and 17, and then on line 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 to put the default colors. Then you can see the information bar here, which is used to display that, which basically start by erasing using the plot instruction. So I also put it here. And I did the same mistake, so I need to fix it as well. Woohoo! No, this is strange. Ha. Lol. That's the problem with switching resolution. So maybe the other one was working actually. Yes, fill was working. So yes, documentation. So plot is kind of like print, but not. So basically there are two important instructions in the Oric system for printing. There is print, which has a variant called print at x, y, followed by a normal print system. on plot, which seems almost the same. The main difference is that plot does not do any fancy formatting. So if you try to put something like a Z dollar ASCII code on thing, it's just going to display some weird character. Like for example, if you do ZA to display some red, it's just going to display the A later instead of red. The main interest of the plot command is that it's independent of the current cursor position. So in the game here, I can use plot to position all this text here, and it's not going to impact the scrolling window here. I could have done exactly the same thing using print at, but then I would have had to memorize the cursor position so the scroll does not get wrecked. But for all intents and purposes, except the attribute handling and the formatting on cursor, we can achieve the same thing. So this information bar, let me scroll again. So line 15 and 16, it erases everything, and then it displays on line 15 at coordinate 21, so the screen is 40 character wide, so 21 is about here. On why 21, not 20, because we don't want to center, because we have some color attribute change here that we don't want to overwrite, so it's safer to go on the right side. So we take the length of the string, we divide it by 2, and we subtract, which is how this title is centered, and obviously the title I pass in this variable. And then we display the variable on the screen, and we return. Location information works the same, except it only erases that one, and it acts on the line 16 instead of the line 15. And all this part, the what are you going to do now, is replacement for the input function that I was showing. And it's used also for other parts, like when the game asks you what do you want to put the dust in. So he asks you, you can say in the bag or in the tin box, something like that. So this is my input emulator. So we loop, so display the small cursor at the location, just to make sure. We loop, we ask the character. If the character is 127, which is a delete code, then we display a space and we remove one character. So my query string is equal to the left of my query string -1. If it's a space or between A and Z, that's how I avoided all the numbers and special characters, then we add this character to the string and we display it at the current position of the string length. And we repeat until the character which been entered is a carriage return, so 13, and the string is not empty. So we don't want to handle empty strings. And before returning, we erase the line 21 and 22, which contains the input field. So that's the main thing. So the other thing I did is I removed every single paper and ink. The original game keeps switching between cyan, green, depending on what you're doing, which is a bit messy. So I removed that. And I replaced all the print, you are in a deserted market square, print, exit, blah, blah, by a call to my two functions. So $d equal, you are in a deserted market square, go sub 50 to 100. Exit lead north and east goes up 50 to 20, which basically calls the function I was just showing you. And I added some spacing between the various subroutines to make it easier to read. That's the nice thing with using the OSDK tap basic conversion, is that it accepts empty lines. It just ignores them in the final program. But as far as you can see, this is only set of change in all this part. Nothing was changed. What I did change is, because I changed the number of lines, I had to play with the number of print displayed here and there, remove some, add some. So here it's a very minimum change. some spacing. So here it's what are you going to do now is replaced by a GoSub 300, which is a function I just showed you before, but that's the same thing, including displaying the move. Spacing, 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 spacing. All the blue is unimportant changes, so we can go through. And yes, that's what is the second challenge. So when the game asks you what do you want to put dust or anything, I do the same thing. I called the subfunction which does thing. As a small thing, which is funny, is that the game checks if you answered bag or in bag by doing a specific check here. It's a very manual parser. So more spacing. On the inventory, which is completely changed while being more of the same. So basically what the old inventory did was clear the screen, put ugly color, and just display tabulated list of inventory. If the plastic bag is in my inventory, then tabulate 13, print plastic bag, blah, 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 blah. And then just to make sure it looks very much ugly, add a bunch of stars at the start and at the end. So what I did is I created a new variable, IV, which is inventory. Yeah, important note about variables in BASIC. You can't name variables. So the only two first characters matter. So it could have been called IV blah blah blah. It would have worked the same than IV. And if I had modified, like say AVA, I could read it with AVB. The third character doesn't matter. What matters is that these two first letters don't match to anything of the keywords known from the BASIC, as you get syntax error. So IV, I know, doesn't match anything. But EN will have failed because EN is two characters from the keyword int. So you don't want that, the int which is used there. So what I changed is I kept the same test, but instead of using print tab, what I'm doing is plot with a formula. And every time one of these is displayed, I increase the IV value. So the first one is going to have IV equals 0, 1, 2, 3. So until IV equals 7. On this final test here is to make sure that if I drop some item, I'm going to erase the last used place to avoid leaving a remnant of old items. So this formula is way too complicated for what it should have been. The problem is that the Oric does not have the modulo instruction. Many BASIC add the mod instruction, which is basically the remaining part of the integer division, which would have been very practical because I have 4 lines of inventory. Each line have 2 columns. So for the left part, I could just have used modulo 2. And if IV equals 0, the result will have been 0. If IV is 1, result is 1. If IV is 2, result is 0, etc. But I had to do that manually. So the location where I print each of my text is 1 plus, so because I don't want to overwrite the color code, 20, which is the width of each of my columns, half the width of the screen, multiply by the number minus the integer part of the number divided by 2, multiply by 2, which does the same thing as modulo, basically. That's messy. And for the vertical position, it's the line 23 plus inventory number divided by 2. So I got 23, 23, 24, 24, 25, 25. That's about it. These small changes here, 14,000 is the inventory display routine. So all I did is that when you get, make, drop, or throw something, I add a GoSub to the function that updates the inventory. That's what allowed me to automatically get the inventory keep up to date when answering things. And this $a equal L is a horrible hack, which I use to make the game show automatically again where you were located. Because if you look at all these functions here, a long road stretch overview, ask what to do. If L, then display the inventory information again. So yes, that's about it. So as I said, I put the documentation for the print function, which is from the Oric user manual. Should be at readable size, I hope. The plot function and the fill function. The source code is there as well. So you can see that just adding space really make the code easier to understand. It's not perfect, I mean, it's still basic, but it kind of works. So I guess that's all for today, and I miserably failed again with a 25-minute video. Damn it. I hope everything was understandable. Sorry for the I think I'm getting a cold again, which is annoying considering it's nice weather now. But yeah, so there you go. And my idea is that on the very last episode, I'm going to try to do what I just did, which is run the whole game on the new game side by side, doing the same thing. It's going to be a big spoiler showing the solution of the game, but I guess could be interesting and show the actual improvement. And then we'll have to find a new name for the game. Not sure if it should be Encounter 2, Encounter Plus, Encounter Revamped, so it does not get mistaken for the other one when people are searching for the game. So yep, have a good time and see you next time.